Oh, yeah.
Fox, was it Tim?
Oh, look, he's doing this now. He's going to go back later and say, did you see me in among them holding my banner? Oh, yeah, come on, girls, fancy me. Look at me, I'm fearless.
Angry teenagers!
Look at me. Whoa!
I like it, mate. It's a nice colour. Brings out the blue in your
Have
eyes.
that, could I? Mate, you must have loads of them, haven't you? Mate.
Have you noticed that you ain't been attacked? Yeah. If we was over there, what would happen? If I went and stood over there now, do you want to call? What would happen? Go get you a coffee, did you?
Let's talk. A neck rub?
Come for a beer, mate.
A foot rub?
Yeah.
No, he's not old enough to drink beer. What would your mum say?
If I went over there now, what do you reckon would happen? Honestly.
Don't know. Do you want to try?
If they were outnumbered you, they'd beat you to shit.
I'm going to go try.
Thank you. That's mine. Thank you.
Ooh! Oh, you've been abandoned by your friend.
Everyone, if you get a chance, take a picture of this guy in the black hood there. Right, if you think we can't see him, get a picture of him. And this chap behind me, this chap behind me. This one in, the blue jacket, this one in. Get a picture of him. See him walking off? Where you going, mate?
You feel good about it, do you? So you ignore people who are getting acid thrown in their faces and are getting beaten up in the street, and you protect Nazis. Because you guys will attack me online. I'm not here to hurt anybody. Yeah, just free speech. It's for free speech.
I'm protecting free speech.
Yeah. Really. It's hate speech, which is illegal, and you're not doing your job. I don't know anything about a flare. You honestly should feel ashamed of yourself. You really should. I mean, people get robbed. You do nothing about it.
I can't hear you, it's not allowed.
Yeah, fuck off.
Don't swear at me, mate. Don't swear at me.
What?
Don't swear at me.
You're protecting fashion.
These people.
Nazi scum!
I got my thing here, man.
Nazi socialist off our street!
Nazi thing. Fanta is Nazi drink.
Nazi socialist off our streets!
Antifa fascist.
Nazi socialist.
Free speech for everyone.
The extreme minority of people, but they represent a left-wing establishment that is this country right here.
You're
They-
giving it too much credit. It's a far-right establishment, is what it is. That is the image of the left.
They've gone full
Using
circle.
The far-right is what it is.
They have gone full circle, these people. They are the real fascists. Totally. Everything they do is fascist. They come to places, they beat people up, they throw things at people because they don't agree with what they say.
And you were yelling Pepe and doing the OK sign earlier. So do you follow those sort of memes online?
It's so funny because why does a cartoon frog piss them off? Why? That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just it's a cartoon frog.
we can create
and they're like, oh, you're a white supremacist and all that. What are you talking about? You don't even know nothing about me.
Right?
You don't even know
Doesn't
nothing
matter
about
about
me.
those memes, but we can create even more memes, right? And they will categorise that as far right as well.
Oh, of course
so
they
the
will.
more we do them, the more this war continues.
If I can ask, just so Americans can understand, will you guys leave or remain? Like, how do you line up politically?
I voted leave. Yeah.
I voted
Because
leave.
I don't like the idea of people.
Yeah,
We've
American,
got some
yeah.
Remainers. We've also got some Remainers here as well.
Basically, we love our American brothers. They're going through a very, very difficult time. What we're seeing is a stem.
Oh yes, we belong to the Mongolian fish gutting boards.
Pass this out. Pass this out. You don't want to pass this around this. If you can't show your face, you're showing yourself as a terrorist. You're terrorizing the people and putting fear into the people. We don't want that here. This is a united kingdom. We want no division. Fascists out. Fascists out. Fascist out! Fascist out! Get out of the kingdom!
Show your
We
faces,
don't want
you
racism.
cowards.
Yeah, show
Show
your
your
faces.
faces.
Show your
Show your
faces.
faces, you cowards.
Fascists.
It's fundamentally important that we stand here to defend free speech. That
Free
is
speech, that's right.
Speech by anybody.
Exactly.
Everyone in this country must have the right to speak.
Written
They
into
must
our law.
Do so free from fear of intimidation and violence from masked thugs. The guys over there.
We are the Apostles of Keck organising this meet-up together. We have the Football Lads Alliance, the Freedom March UK, various other remarkable individuals such as Alex. My name is Jan. I'm a Twitch TV streamer known as Jansama. Alex, do you want to introduce your channel?
Yes, certainly. My channel on YouTube is Alexander Sangmore, and it is necessary for people with sufficient testicular fortitude as well as a vertebrae to speak truth in an age where the alt-left tech alliance, known as Facebook, Twitter, Google, and so forth, are censoring the web. In the last 3 weeks, there has been more censorship on the web than there has been in all of the internet's history. Okay? What this here deity represents is the coming of the light after the eternal darkness, as well as the very first species that will inform the inhabitants of the surrounding area that there is an imbalance as well as a problem in the in nature and in the surrounding area. That is what it represents, and also it triggers Antifa to a great extent. They have never come across toad battle mages prior, and as well as the Apostles of Keck. The reason for this is because the lurkers on 4chan and 8chan poll, for the most part, remain in their basements, having with the Bureau of Memetic Warfare and so forth.
Satis mentibus obvii.
Which means in Latin, sufficient minds meet. It is a degree of neurogamy. For anyone watching, you can go and Google what neurogamy means. It comes from two Greek synthetics, neurons or nevra, which means, brain neurons, and gamos, which means marriage. So we have a marriage of multiple minds on the Mongolian fish gutting boards towards the end goal of stopping the Coudenhove-Kalergi plan for the promotion of the displacement of the peoples in their own native countries, as well as the blatant disembowelment of the principal force of democracy, which is freedom of speech in this nation. The speakers that were meant to be coming today were doing a speech on freedom of speech, and they get shut down because they are too controversial. The British government is completely cucked to the people that own it, to international forces that don't want people speaking the truth, as well as opposing the narrative echo, echo, echo.
Regarding Martin Sellner, he was a speaker who was supposed to speak his mind. It's his right to speak for freedoms. His speech was regarding globalism and its many negatives thereof. It's unacceptable that he has been arrested. He is effectively now a political prisoner. We are here in sheer outrage to protest what has happened to him. Deplatforming is unacceptable. The likes of Antifa with threats and intimidation tactics is unacceptable. Political violence will not be tolerated, and we will stand up against it.
Does your mommy know you're here? Does your mommy? Does your mommy? Does your mommy know you're here? Does your mommy know you're here? Does your mommy? Does your mommy know you're here? Does your mommy know you're here?
Oh look, I can see your face now, Deirdre. You're talking too loud.
So hi there, my name's Alex. I am a lawyer, and I decided to come down here today to support free speech, particularly because I attended the Sargon of Akkad speech at King's College London on Monday. Now that event, Sargon, real name Carl Benjamin, was due to speak about Ayn Rand and free market economics with another liberal, and unfortunately the event was disrupted in the sense that Antifa, the violent far-left group who go to many events with the aim of causing disruption and to try and shut those events, stormed in the building. And I was there and I witnessed it. I was in the lobby area of the university campus, along with a few hundred other people who had come to see him speak. We witnessed Antifa storm into the building, about 10 of them, or a dozen of them, They literally jumped the barriers. They were wearing masks, they were all in black, they had their smoke guns and their flares, and they were trying to cause as much havoc as possible. They managed to set off the fire alarm. Well, first of all, they managed to get into the lecture theatre and they assaulted Sagan and a few other people. And then they set off the fire alarm, which meant the whole building was evacuated and all the other students in the building had their lectures disrupted. And after having witnessed this firsthand, I thought, I have to do something about this. I have to stand up and defend free speech, because we cannot go on like this. We cannot have people speaking on all kinds of issues, having their debate shut down just because this violent far-left group, Antifa, decides they don't like it. We have to support free speech, and that's really why I'm here today. I probably would have attended anyway, but that really, I suppose, encouraged me even more to come along today, to stand up and, of course, defend the right of people to speak freely. Now, of course, the issue today was really over Martin Sellner, the Generation Identity spokesman, and Brittany Pettibone, who's the American journalist, who were due to speak here on Speaker's Corner. Now, both were detained at the border and have been, as far as I understand, detained without charge, which is quite serious. So it's a major concern that the state may also be coming in here and deciding who can and cannot speak, which is rather concerning, given that we've had people of all backgrounds speak at Speaker's Corner for the last century and a half. I mean, we've had the suffragette movement was a lot of it was built around Speaker's Corner. Subsequently, more recently, we've had anti-war protesters speak there, and of course every Sunday now we have Islamists, we have Salafist preachers going and speaking there freely. Now, if they're allowed to speak and preach what I believe is fundamental religious hatred, you know, tenets of a religion that see women as second-class citizens, that don't think that gay people, for example, under the Quran should be executed. Now, if they're allowed to speak freely, then why is a guy who wants to speak about Islamization in Europe and what he calls the Great Replacement, why is he not allowed to speak? And there's a fundamental question that needs to be answered. Why is he deemed to be, in the words of the government or the state, causing division to communities when Islamist speakers who speak regular at Speaker's Corner and preach some very divisive things, why are they allowed to speak? There's a fundamental dichotomy here that needs somehow to be resolved, and I think the only way to do that is for people to be able to speak freely in debate and have their views challenged. Whoever you are, you have the right to speak freely, and of course what you say can be challenged and should be challenged, indeed, by other debaters, but in a civilized, rational way, and not by trying to shut down events by having masked far-left thugs storm in and basically try and with their violence and with their intimidating posturing trying to shut things down. That's where we are, and I think that this is why it's so fundamental. What happened today was so important, and I'm very happy to see that actually the number of free speech advocates here today vastly outnumbered the Antifa group, and at the end they left off after about an hour, clearly recognizing that they were outnumbered. They need to know that there is opposition to them and that they will be resisted.
You're all university paying people. You're nothing. You're children. You're fucking children.
I don't want it going any worse than it is. Not a problem in film.
No. Way! Goodbye! No.
na 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 na. Way! Goodbye.
Where's content over everything?
Leon.
Leon.
I guess my name's Sebastian. I'm on Twitter as Seb versus the world, and I study at university at the moment.
Cool. So why are you here?
I'm here because there was a free speech versus Antifa rally that was going to happen, and myself and a bunch of my friends wanted to see what it was going to be like. We wanted to see what the free speech people were saying. I've never heard of Generation Identity before this week, so we came along to see what they were like. We came along to see how the behaviour was. And it promised to be quite interesting because there's a lot of clashes. It's Hyde Park, there's an intersection here of a big Muslim cohort, and of course the free speech cohort, and then the Antifa cohort. So we want to see what's going to happen.
Cool. And what did you think about today?
Well, I think there needs to be a lot more thinking on all sides of the argument because unfortunately the free speech guys turned up and they only really talked to the other people who turned up with them. Now that's not going to convince anybody who's not passionate about free speech. They certainly didn't convince any of the Antifa people, and vice versa. Antifa hasn't made anyone an anarcho-communist in the past 24 hours, which is probably a good thing, but that depends on your views. I think for further action, we need to demonstrate, that is everyone who believes in free speech, why it's worth having free speech, because as we've learned from the other side, shouting things with sticks and signs on them, it's very good for showing solidarity, but it's not very good for getting more people to be in solidarity with you. My understanding of free speech is that I don't think it's ever wrong to say any ideas, because if someone takes up those ideas, they are an independently acting moral agent and they're responsible for taking it up. So if I say to somebody something really, quite terrible, like everyone with brown hair should be shot, and then someone goes out and starts shooting brown-haired people, well, I appreciate that I was a bit of a git for telling someone that, but they're the one in the wrong for acting on it. And it's much better if we all have a debate on these things than if we start saying that certain ideas shouldn't be given. Now, I appreciate that if you're literally in the moment of organising a terrorist attack, there's a difference between free speech and threatening people and actually taking action. So there is a distinction, but again, ideas are very distinct from threats. And as someone who is more conservative, I believe that the culture and tradition of free speech is something that we should protect as a society, and Antifa draws the line way too early. You have to draw the line when people start acting, not when people start thinking.